ruach is believe, and nefesh is bekoved, which means ma'aser. So let's ask a shaila klolis. Can you have somebody missing any of these parts? Does everybody have a nefesh, ruach, and neshama, or not?
So just like the body, no? Just like the body.
So based on that, everybody has nefesh, ruach, and neshama, right? But those of us that say, occasionally at least, the minor lashon, will remember that it says, well, at least a few pieces of words you can understand. Right at the beginning of the Zohar, it says, Omer Rabbi Yossi, L'kulhu banash is nefesh. And then it says, Zocha banash, Marikin alei itrachod ikra ruach. Like it says, Ad ye'orel of ruach Maamarim. And then Zocha, even more, is ma'atrin le nefesh, neshama, which is called nishmas elakah. So it sounds like it's not guaranteed. You could have a nefesh. If you're zeicha, you get the ruach, and if you're zeicha, you get the neshama.
But every person can perform the chabad, his brain knows and it's quite
right. So that's a question. So on the one hand, we're saying you have to be zeicha to get those higher pieces. That means till then he owed only nefesh. And if he's zeicha, he gets ruach. I mean, what's going on? It sounds like, in simple language, nefesh, ruach, and neshama is just another way of saying chabad, chagas, neim. It's three parts of the, and everybody has all eser koiches. So what does it mean? You're zeicha, you get. So this is just to make it clear. It's actually clear in many places, but also this kuntus and this book that you have in one of the Maamarim. Look at page 325 in this booklet. It's a bracket. They put it in a brackets in Sif Gimel. That's basically the Nakuda. Page 325. It's from the Maimon of the Rebbe, and you have it a little bit later also in this Hemshech. He says in brackets, "The afshe kol echad mehem kolul mishloshtam, har yeshne gam inyana shel kol echad mehem k'fi shehu b'fnei atzmei," which means to say that every one of these chalokim is kolul from the other part. You have ruach shebenefesh, nefesh shebenefesh. You have neshama shebenefesh, which, by the way, is one of the pirushim that the Rebbe has brought down in Shiur B'Sefer Tanya. In the first perek of Tanya, where do we get introduced right at the beginning of Tanya that a person has two neshamas? Perek Aleph. Kol echad me'Yisrael shtei neshamas d'chsiv u'neshamas ani asisi. And how does it continue? The Alter Rebbe. Shehein shtei nefashos. What's Oxter? You just said everybody has two neshamas. Shehein shtei nefashos. What is the difference? So there's a pirush in one place the Rebbe says that it depends if we're talking about the neshama l'mayla, we're talking about the neshama l'mata. Neshamas aniosisi, when they're the level of aniosisi up there, they're called neshamas. When they come down, they're called nefashos. That's one pirush that brings down in a michtav. But in Shiur B'Sefer Tanya, he says, in Pshat in Tanya, it's much more clearer. The Rebbe says like this: not everybody has the madrega of neshama. Therefore, there could be somebody who only has the madrega of nefesh. We'll get to the explanation in a second. A person can have only the madrega of nefesh. It's not guaranteed he's going to get the nefesh of ruach and neshama. And therefore we're saying everybody has shtei neshamas, dichsiv, the neshamas ani asisi. The neshamas in this pasuk is a general name. It's not pinpointing a particular level. Says the Alter Rebbe, shehein, shtei nefashos, at least nefesh you have. Everybody has at least the level of nefesh. If you also has ruach, or also has neshama, or he's mainly ruach or mainly neshama, that really depends. But basic, everybody has to have nefesh. You have later on in the Alter Rebbe in Perek Yud Ches, when he talks about all neshamas Yisrael have an avim mesuteres, because they come from the Ovis, who was zeicha lahamshich livnei macharehem, this inyan of avim mesuteres, and he says afilu nefesh to nefesh to asiyah. In other words, you can have in nefesh all three levels, and this person is the lowest of the lowest, so to speak. He at least has nefesh, the nefesh of asiyah. But it's a chelik elakah, it's still a neshama, a nefesh elakis. But what level is his nefesh? Nefesh, the nefesh of asiyah. So, on the one hand, we're saying there's some people who only have nefesh, and that's what it sounds like when you say the minor lashon. On the other hand, we're saying everything is kolel from the other one. So what do we mean when we say he has nefesh and he has ruach, or the minor lashon, yisaycha to neshama? What does this mean? It's quite simple. A neshama comes down, obviously he has all 10 koiches, and he has all faculties of nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Neshama meaning moichin, and ruach is midas, and obviously everybody has that. The shaila is, what's the klolos hamadrega of this nefesh? If the klolos hamadrega of this nefesh is, let's say, madregas neshama, then this person is going to be a neshama of Elam Abriya or something like that, or higher. And his whole level is going to be a different type of level of neshama. Right? He's going to be a neshama of Briya. Who comes from Elam Abriya? Which type of neshamas do we know from Elam Abriya? Anyone you know from Elam Abriya? Huh? Can't hear you. Which I can't hear. My hearing's not very good. You want to speak up? I don't know about Derdea, possibly, yeah. But I'm talking about any particular neshamas that we know from Elam Abriya? Any famous ones? It says the Rambam is a neshama of Elam Abriya. Tanoim are neshamas of Elam Abriya. So you're talking about neshamas of a totally different level. So a neshama of Elam Abriya is somebody who, if you remember when you were learning Samachei, right, recall a little bit, you were learning a little bit about the madrega called Pnimius HaMeichin. Remember that level that we have no idea what that is? Pnimius HaMeichin is somebody whose meichin is so high that his midas aber beginnes bittel, and they're almost meichin themselves. There's no hispidus, it's all bottled to the meichin, a very high level. That's a madrega of neshama. A madrega of ruach is a person who's on the level of ava v'yira, b'is galus liboy. He's a real ava v'yira. A madrega's nefesh is like our generation. People are simple people. Shaychus to Maisa, everybody's shaychus to Maisa. Mishbedechad l'kolano. Does that mean he doesn't have meichin? He has neshama and ruach sheba madrega's nefesh. So everyone is kodel from the other one, obviously. You have to have all esakeiches. But the shaila is, what is the level of the klolos hanefesh? You have, by the way, the same thing in neshamas klolius. We talk about nefesh ruach neshama every single person. There are neshamas klolius, which are called nefesh or ruach neshama. For example, we all know Mashiach is called the Yechida HaKlolis. So who's the Chaya HaKlolis? Moshe Rabbeinu is Neshama Klolis. Chaya Klolis is Adam Arishan. Ruach HaKlolis is Eliyahu HaNovi. And Nefesh HaKloli is David HaMelech. That's why David, being the Nefesh HaKloli, his Tilim, as everybody says Tilim. The person doesn't even understand what he's saying, as up Tilim. Because it's a Nefesh, it's a madreg of a simple Nefesh, he can say Tilim. So, again, does that mean that these Neshamas Klolis don't, the Neshamas Klolis, these Tzadikim, Roi Yisrael, obviously they have all the levels and all included. The shaila is, what is the Ikka, his galos of their Neshama? Is it a noifin of Nefesh or Ruach or Neshama? The same thing every single person. Everybody's made up of all of them, but the shaila is, what's the Ikka? Al Pizeh, lots of things make sense. For example, if you go to Perik Yidalad of Tanya, and he talks there about the Beinani who is not successful necessarily to change his midas. He says, nevertheless, you have to be Mekayim Ashur Shemashbim Noisit Tzaddik. You have to be Mishtal to be a Tzaddik. And what does he say on over the page? He says, Hergel Nasa Teva. If you keep on being Mayis Bara, at least being Mizbeinen about Gashmis, that it's Mayis Bara, and then you try to be Besimcha and Avedis Hashem, is Hergel Nasa Teva. And then afterwards he says, V'kulei hai v'ulai ye'er of ruach Maamarim v'yiska. You get right up? The beginnes sheirish eze tzaddik she is ababoy. He might be zeicha to a tzaddik which will be misabe in his neshama, and he'll be able to serve the Eibishter with simcha. Shnemish simchut tzaddikim b'Hashem. You have to be a tzaddik to have simcha, but the neshama will sort of shine into your neshama, and you'll be able to serve the Eibishter with simcha. What's the lashon he uses? Ruach eze tzaddik. Yerelov ruach Maamarim. Because here we're not talking about Maisa. He was Bishlemus HaMaisa before, and he was a Beinani. But he doesn't have any Hergish. He doesn't have any Midas. He doesn't have Avavir. He can't serve the Eibishter with real simcha. He's not a tzaddik. He still has Ra. So he says, okay, so if you're Zeicha, the tzaddik will be Mis'aba and allow you to serve the Eibishter with simcha. So it's Meduyik, you see over there, the Inyan of Ruach. And similar things like that you find at other places in Tanya where it sounds meduyik, where you see if he brings down nefesh or he brings down the shama, you can be medayik at different places. I don't know if you can understand every single time why the Alter Rebbe here uses the word nefesh and here he uses the word neshama, but you do find here or there, for example, you see it's b'diuk, the inyan of ruach. Now, that's been a gear to the beginning of the Maimon, the Klolos HaMaimon. So again, he's only talking about here in this Maimon to explain the Klolos HaInyan as what Neshama, for example, represents and what Ruach represents, but he's not discussing what you are, what our levels are. Because again, we are all Dor Shvi, we're nefashos of Olam HaAsiyah. I mean, I speak for myself, I don't know about you, right? So nefesh to Asiyah. So we have basics, we have machshava d'bamaisa, everybody's mechuyev, everybody's able to do that. Whether you have a hergish leki or not, even if you do have, let's say you have somebody who davens and he has a hergish, and he has a chayes leki, has a shtickle ava, but not mazon, he gets a shtickle ava. It doesn't mean he's madrigas ruach. It means he was ma'oira the ruach shebenafshay. He's a madrigas nefesh, but he has now chayes and a shtickle ava. If he would be the madriga of ruach, somebody who has the madriga of ruach, somebody who has the madriga of neshama, he would be here one of the biggest tzaddikim around, maybe a Baal Meifis as well, like the Rambam and the Tanoim. These are madrigas of neshama. Madrigas of ruach is not far from that. It's also would be a big tzaddik nowadays, also probably a Baal Meifis. So for the Hamoin, Am is madrigas, but he still has to discuss what they are within our neshamas. What is nefesh ruach neshama? So if we go further down as we go along, he starts off, Shtickle Clarkite in the Bible, when he starts off on page Reish Ayin Tes, he starts talking about, so what is neshama? What is a madriga? He goes in order, neshama, then ruach, then nefesh. What is neshama? He says bina. And the first half of the page is not talking about the bina of the nefesh alakis. He's talking about the bina stam, in nefesh bahamas as well. Only halfway down the page, where he starts, the line begins, ve'inyan habina de nefesh alakis, there he's turning to the nefesh alakis. But till then he's talking about bina bechlal. So neshama is the level of bina. What is bina? So he says bina means, obviously, he's being masbir, that which the Nekudas HaScholar tells us. It's not moving until you get the bina, and it makes sense of it. Then he says, but the koyach to be masbir, the koyach habina, has a higher shirish, or has its own shirish, besides chokhmah. Besides the koyach chokhmah, you have koyach habina. In other words, if you're going into the nefesh, there are 10 koyachas, right? And even the koyachas haklulim benefesh, there's 10 koyachas. So the koyach habina has its own shirish. Besides, so somebody could be a Baal Hamtzor, and somebody can be a Baal Masbir. The Baal Masbir doesn't necessarily mechadish anything, and the Baal Mechadish doesn't even necessarily understand his own chidushim. He has brilliant ideas, but doesn't even know how to explain it. So he really doesn't understand it. It's two different koyachas. But what's interesting is he brings down a raya meichachas. What's his raya? That bina has a shirish miyucha. This subject is a shtickle hesber, a shtickle havana. He says v'raya meichachas. He says because it says by Moshe Rabbeinu nevoinim. But Nevoinim they couldn't find. Nevoinim b'mei Moshe leishtakach. Now we're talking about the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. If they couldn't find in Moshe Rabbeinu's times a Nevoinim, so I mean the Dor of Moshe was a Dor Dea. Maybe if you remind me at the end of this time, there's a story about that. But the Dor of Moshe was a Dor Dea. They were not refugees coming out of Mitzrayim. They were Dor of Barei Madregas. And there was no Nevoinim around. And what did we just have in Parshas Vayakhel? Who built the Mishkan? Betzalel. And Hashem nosam chachma uvina v'hema. Chachma utvuna v'hema. They had chachma and tvuna. Tvuna is bina. How else can you translate?
Before they didn't have it.
Huh?
Before they didn't have it.
It says lo yishtachich b'mei Moshe. It wasn't found in his generation. There were no Nevoinim. And this pasuk, the pasuk ve'echach mikem, is Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of their 40 years saying what I didn't find, and yet they managed to build a Mishkan with chachmo tvuna. They did have tvuna. This shaila is not my shaila. This is a shaila from the Rebbe in Kutasichas, and it's based on a shaila of the Zohar. The Zohar sort of puts the two together, Vayakel and Nevoinim. Vayakel, it says Chochma Tvuna, Chochacham Leiv, and here we say Nevoinim Lo Yishtaka. How's that possible?
Chacham Leiv is Bina?
Huh?
Chacham Leiv is Bina?
No, the not the word Chacham, but the Tvuna bit that it says afterwards.
Can't say that was a technical bina.
Okay, so you're on the path.
Well, they knew how to make good arts and crafts, but not how to recollection.
Still Tvuna, but Tzala wasn't a stomach arts and crafts. He had things which would sell Kela easy.
Craftsmanship.
Huh?
You think it was not just a technical?
It's not just technical, it was to understand how to do it. And also that's Bina, what's the problem? So Bina in arts and crafts is also a Bina, isn't it? If he had Bina, he had Bina. He happens to be good in arts and crafts. But Bina is Bina. If he has Bina, he has Bina. We say, no yishtachach. No such thing found. It's not menimtza. It's not for sale. Well, so the Torah of the Rebbe says, Pashut. Lo yehari tevuna shuva pashas vayakel kahari nevoinim was lo yishtachach. Two different nevoinim. The Rebbe says there's two inyanim in Bina. B'hashgacha pratis, I think you can find a remez in today's Rambam. There's two inyanim in Bina. There's the simple Bina, which he's talking about clearly in the Maamar, which is to be masbir. That means you have the Nekudas HaSkola, and you take it and you expand it and you give it Hasbara. So till now it was a Mufshadik Nekuda, and the Baal Masbir, Baal Mevin, will come and explain it. That everybody has, and that was found by Moshe, and that was available obviously for building the Mishkan, and that we have nowadays, and you don't have to be, that's obviously found. The Nevoinim, which it says Lo Yishtakach, is a different type of Bina. It's the same Koyach, but it's a deeper level. How do we express Bina? How does the Alter Rebbe express Bina right at the beginning in Tanya? Maven Davar Meitech Davar. You find those words within the words of the Alter Rebbe Pele Gimel. Maven Davar Meitech Davar. Those words are in there. Maven Davar Meitech Davar means that he's learning this inyan, he sees this inyan, and he's able to take from this a totally new chiddush. It's based on this, but the new inyan is so far removed. If you're not a novan, you won't see the connection. And he's able to take from here. So it's a type of chiddush, but not a chiddush of chachma. Chiddush of chachma is ideas coming from nowhere. This is based on this. Based on this, what it says over here, I have a totally new thing. That type of noven was not found by Moshe. Where's the Rebbe in today's Rambam? Do you learn today's Rambam?
I thought today's Rambam was talking about the chachma. The Riyah the chachma is later.
Huh?
I thought today's Rambam was the Riyah the chachma later.
Do you have to have a Rambam here? Yeah? Almost the end of the halachas. Listen to this. He's talking about somebody has a negiah in Edus, right? And if you see any type of negiah, he's posel Edus, right? So if he's not just craving, if he knows that in the end he's going to end up losing money, obviously he's a negiah b'davar, right? V'rosh the Rabbi v'chein kol kayetz b'dvarim elu, u'dvarim elu einam tluyim ele b'das hadayin v'oitzim binosai. Sheyovin ikah hamishpatim v'yeda dova hagarim b'dova acher v'yamek liros im yimotza sheyesh lezeh ha'eit sad hanoa b'edezu afilu b'derech rechoika v'niflo. Can you see a connection why he has any? No, I don't see any connection. If you're working out all the way around, there's a negiah over there, but you don't see the negiah. B'derech rechoika v'niflo, and that's totally on oitzim binosei. So at least it's marumas in the Rambam that a noven is something that it's derech rechoika v'niflo. There's no connection. I was thinking just to make it more practical. What would be a practical dogma of just to bring it down to our level, gashmistika level? What would be a noven? So I'm thinking like this. This is a derech efes just to help you visualize it. Somebody's sitting in his kitchen and he sees something's cooking on the stove, and from this vision that he sees on his stove, he works out a new form of travel. see a connection between a pot on the stove and a train or a bus? Steam engines, right. So now we know how steam engines work, so we see the connection. But he was sitting in his kitchen and he sees, oh, look at my pot jumping up and down. We can make trains that can travel from city to city. How'd you get from there to there? It's unnoving. I'm just giving an example. I don't know if it's true, but there is a story?
With the whistling kettle that you threw out the window by a train.
All right. But you see that you can take one thing and it has absolutely nothing to do with vehicles, and he took it over there and he says, no, I see here a train. I don't know if it went mamish like that so quickly, but the idea, you get the idea from here to there, and there's no connection, but it's based on this, and he has a totally new thing. That's a novi. It's almost like a yesh mi'ayin, but it's based on something.
How is that different from the Riyah, the Chachma? Rabbi speaks about it.
So the Riyah, the Chachma, is that he actually sees it and he knows it's going to happen before it happens. It's not based on his idea. It's not his invention. He sees it's going to happen.
He also can't explain it to you.
And he can't explain it to you.
The pot guy.
The Novin can't
could probably
explain.
explain because this thing it generates
Right.
pressure, whatever. This is the Chacham.
I get to see who this Chacham is, but it's. But anyway, getting back to the Bina, so that would be why b'mei Moshe there was no such Mevinim, there's Nevoinim. That's the deal. It's Nevoinim. That's why. Oh, the interesting the Sikha that Rabbi explains. Do you remember that Rashi when he talks about what's a Novain? He says, "Hovu lachem anashim chachamim Nevoinim v'iduyim l'shiftechem." Says Rashi that Arios, somebody called Arios, asked Rabbi Yossi. Notice the Arios and Yossi are not the same letters. Arios was a goy, and he asked Rabbi Yossi, "What's the difference between a chacham and a novin?" So he says, "A chacham is they're both a shulchani. Shulchani is a money changer, but the shulchani who is a rich shulchani, and there's a shulchani who is a business shulchani. The rich one sits down. If you bring him money to change, he'll look at it and he'll do business with you. And when you don't bring him anything, he klotzes, he doesn't do anything. But a shulchani taga, he's a competitive businessman. If you don't bring him any money, he's going to go and find customers. So the Rebbe says, why does Rashi have to do this whole arichas tikka mashal? You didn't explain what bina meant in Parshas Vayakil. That was where the kasha comes from. Vayakil, it says tvuna. You didn't explain to us what bina meant over there, because this is a different type of bina over here. This is somebody who's what's the Lashon Rashi? He's midilei. He makes his own money. You don't have any here, he'll find it. He'll go and look for it. In other words, you don't see it now, he'll find something. You see this, he'll see that. That's a novin. It's like a yesh mi'ayin, mevin dov mitech davar. Anyway, you look it up in the Chelik Lamadala, the second Sikha and Dvar. It's a brilliant Sikha. Anyway, so that's going to get to Bina, and right. Then he continues Bina in the Nefesh HaLekis, and when he finishes talking about Bina, he says that by Emerson, where does the Bina come from? He says, really, we should only be able to be masig Elokus up until Bina of Atzilus, because where do we have the ability to be a maven of Elokus? It's coming from Bina d'Atzilus, right? This we know from Pasach Eliyahu. Unto da pigas asati kunin, lan hoga behind olmin, or the second girsa, lan hora behind olmin. What are the spheres for? We need Chachma Bina Das to give us Meichin. We need the Midas to give us Hergish. How do we have a Hergish Eliki? Because there's Midas and Atzilus, so we're Nishtalshel from them, we have a Hergish Eliki. And the same thing Meichin. Then he asked, but what about the higher Madrigas? The Rashbi and the Arizal, and then obviously Rabbi Seinu Sienu, which spoke about higher than Bina of Atzilus. They spoke about Arachampin, Atik Yemin, Ak, all the way up. Right? Nifnei ad Tzimtzum. How do we get to there? So what does he finish off? What's the answer? On the next page, Reish Pe'alef, he says the answer is because neshamas are mushush in atzmas ein sof. That's the last 4 lines from the end of Sif Aleph.
Still, it's not a real halam, right? We didn't go back. We didn't cancel the more pashut answer, did we?
Which is what?
The more pashut answer is that it's not you understand that the tzia is not the.
So he says that answer. He says that answer as well. He says v'gam zeh ein amufen, because even hasagas hametzias, how are you massing something that's higher than your that's higher than your shayrish.
That's the
When I
question.
learned that, I
thought
didn't
that-
understand the question.
I thought the question was that every hasaga is.
To put it on a
hasaga
chart is
samatzias. So hasaga is Yedias Samatzias more than Yedias Samahos.
Right. So he's saying, but even that, how do you have hasagas hametzias?
I thought the question was, he says, even if you explain to me that's only hasaga samatzias, that's what hasaga is. Hasaga is. So no matter which words you use, it's always going to be that they obviously do have hasaga.
Right, but the question remains, how do you have hasagas hametzias in something which is higher than bina of atzilus? The whole idea of hasaga, in other words, starts in atzilus. You can't have an ava. Where do we get our herigation and our hasaga from? Even hasagas hametzias, it's all nishtalshlu from the esespheres. So, how do you have hasaga in something that's higher than esespheres? She says, well, neshamas hamushash higher than spheres. They're mushash up there. But the Emerson, the answer is not ganz and complete, l'cha'ora. Because even if you have mitzad your neshama, you're able to get higher. But hasaga, how do you get hasaga higher? You could have maybe a kesher with higher, but how do you have hasaga in something high? Bina stops over there. Mesiras nefesh is fine, yeah. Mesiras nefesh is fine. How do you have hasaga in something that's higher than the mocker of hasaga? That piece seems to be missing over here. You get what I'm asking? How do you have hasaga in something that's higher than the mocker of hasaga? Your mocker of hasaga comes from bina da'atzilus, so that ad kan, that's where you came from, that's where you can reach to. And yet you say no, because the shayrish of neshamas is an atzma saying sof, so you have a hasaga even higher. How do you manage to get even higher? Therefore, I would add on something which I don't know if that's what he means or it's brought down Mokimacha, obviously, that the spheres of Atzilus are also not the beginning of everything. They have a shayrish also higher. If you remember the Maim of Adar II of Amud Zaynis and look at Chelik Dalet, there the Rabbi brings down from wherever it is, different places, where it says that the Eibishter was mitzel these spheres and these inyanim all the way up about Smusay. That's the expression. He was Herzl Yedir about Smusay. And the reason why he was mitzel these madregas up there was in order that the madregas of das or bina in Atzilus should be nishtalshul from them. This way they're all connected, so you can end up having a yedir all the way up to Atzmus. So that's Ata Haresel Das, that you can have a yedir in Atzmus, because the Eibishter was mitzel a yedir ba'atzmusay, and from there was nishtalshul all the way down to Atzilus. And so the regular hasaga is taka hasaga that we get from bina da'atzilus, from Chabad da'atzilus. But in the end, that hasaga didn't start out in Atzilus. The spheres didn't begin over there. They began b'shorshim. They also have a shorish all the way up. The shayla is only on us, on the gavra. How do we get so high? The answer is we're also all the way up there. We come from Atzma Sein Sof, so we have access to the bina the way it's all the way in b'shorshim. Right, so we've done the Shama. We'll see if you want to, we can go further. It's interesting, if you look in Torah Shalom, it's printed at the back here. If you look at Torah Shalom, this Maima, the Rebbe Rashab was saying, Mamish, the one of the last Maamarim. And when he came to the Madrega of Nefesh, he said something about it. He said, Medaftas Heren, you have to learn it. I don't remember where it was. Yeah, the right at the very end, page 62 of this Kutus. Somebody turned away his head. See, he was facing the Rebbe Rashab, and he looked sideways. So the Rebbe Rashab said, "I see." And now I mean, as man sagen Hetman, new stuff you want to hear. As man sagt an Inje, was mit schön gerät, einmal gesagt, wir müssen nicht hören. It's old stuff. Mit schön gehört, so schön nicht kenayes. As mir seine Makabel, the Rebbe Rashab stood by himself. We were Makabel means when he was listening to his father, the Rebbe Marash, is the Rebbe Marash should say the same thing for weeks, the same inyan, and we listen like every time it's a new thing. Why? Here we go back to something we wrote also in Samachay. Look what he says, and the line begins the last column of Torah on page 33 or 62. He says, "Vos be'emes." The line begins daft anayazach dafke, like halfway through the left column. So he says, "Vos be'emes im adreges mashpir makabel is tache jeden mol anayas." Ich habe schon etliche Mal gesagt, als wenn ich rede wegen Maschpir, okay, that's about him, weil der was ist Maschpir, ist Maschpir be'etzem, nicht kein Makabel. Und der Makabel ist ein Makabel nicht kein Maschpir. Was Makabel Maschpir ist, eure Maschpir Makabel. Und bei erster Maschpir sagt, geht doch eure Maschpir, wo das hat doch der Makabel nicht. Ist doch das bei ihm Anayas. Und als ist jeden Mal, geht Anayas, darf man das jeden Mal hören. If you remember, we spoke about this in Hamachadish. You remember that? The Hayom Yom. It says that the Alter Rebbe used to say, from of the era we heard over a few times, on jeden Mole given as every anaya zach. The Tate must be given as oir is jeden Mol gleich, aber mo'or is jeden Mol v'yad avachodesh. You see it in the Sikha as well. Because the mo'or, he's a mashpia. And if he's a mashpia, so whatever he's giving you, it doesn't matter if it's the same teichen of, he said it yesterday, the same thing, it doesn't matter. It's a new hashpah from a mashpia, and that the makabel doesn't have. So it's an even more v'adav chodesh. But somewhere over there, there's also about the madrega of nefesh. I can't find it.
Piece before.
Piece before?
Column on the right side. Kedim shis chodar madrigas nefesh.
Page what? 32?
Yeah, 33 or 62. Beginning of all, but it's from a later Maamarim. It's from the second Maamarim.
Das ist nötig zu wissen, ja. Das ist mehr negiert zu sich. Das haben wir retten wegen Heuchinjonim. Wegen Madeges Nefesh retten wenig. Und das ist nötiger. Da sein, als ich das bei das echt, aber über Promi ist, wegen von Nefesh. Man meint dann, als man so hören, was man, ja, that's it, yes. Man meint sollte hören, ja. All right.
There's Tzelem. What's
that?
significance of Tzelem? He says Tzelem, Maamarim is Chai Yechida.
What are you talking about now?
Oh, that's the whole thing later on. No, I'm 2 days ago.
Chai Yechida, yeah. That's Sif Gimel.
In the beginning of Vezi, he says that super shvachim is derech klal. Binyanim she'im rusogim be'etzem.
Right.
Why?
Yesh miyayim, we don't really understand it. How it
He means
works.
by likus or
Another
something
course, yeah.
saying no. He brings a mashal. He brings a mashal. Chmei v'sam b'shivchem melech.
Right, so even if you don't know too much about the king, but you're saying, wow, look what I saw. I saw the soldiers, I saw the king, I saw his crown. You didn't even get a close-up view, but you're the spoil from the Inya, so you're telling over. When you tell over something you see, that you have a spiders from that. And Shukdazimi means that we don't really have our sog in Yesh Miyayin. We're talking about it the whole time, the whole Inyan of the Abish who runs the world, and he's. But somewhere else he does say that we do understand something of it. I think in the next Maamarim,
No, even in this mind, right?
we understand the slapshus, we understand.
So,